Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's tech guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. You heard me say before, these sponsors are all companies that I used as an athletic director. Yes, they're sponsors, but I used them. They're great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest, and then go and visit them. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to their website and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an AD, we were a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's a lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Mobile. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. Go to SnapRaise, check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's SnapRaise. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to thank our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team help you become a social media marketing expert. Whether it's a simple post to celebrate a win or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your school is doing, the team at Gipper is going to have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to say thank you to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. It's used by multiple state associations and thousands of high school athletic directors. For me, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. And even if your state has a different platform, you can be a Home Campus school. Go to homecampus.com for more information. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thank you to our friends at Hometown. You know, Hometown's changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more? Whether you're an athletic director, school principal, even a head coach, Hometown makes it easy for you and your organization to save time, to raise more money, and to bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com for more information. That's hometown.com. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for kids, for coaches, for teachers, even parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back was almost always over the top positive. Of course, we got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents that we were already hearing from, but it gave them a chance to share their concerns and it gave us a chance to deal with them before they turned into something big. But going back to that positive information, having that 98% approval was tremendously valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or maybe even your principal, or how about your school board? Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We have got a really cool guest today. We're going to be visiting with Dr. Brandon Beck. Has an incredible background. I want him to share a little bit, but he was an athlete, a coach, a teacher. He's a speaker. I think I mentioned author. He works with athletes and teams and organizations. I'm just going to shut up. Brandon Beck, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Well, you were recommended, highly recommended, by one of our regular contributors, Christina Collins. And as I, did the appropriate amount of internet stalking, I'm going, wow, we've got another A-lister on the podcast. If you can, share with our listeners, a little bit of your background. We like to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes. I'm going to give you more than 2 minutes, but what's the Brandon Beck origin story?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny, the words that I use to describe myself, I would say are teacher, coach, leadership coach, speaker, and the list goes on, right? But I think the reason that I use those words is because, well, I had to light myself on fire to decide that those would be the words that my journey would follow. And I know that's really weird to say, but my journey started when I was 14 years old. In high school, I loved the opportunity to go to school. However, socially and getting along with others and academically was something that was challenging for me at times. And it wasn't a place that I always felt so comfortable. And I grew up in New York, upstate New York, what we like to say, where there's a lot more country than there is where I currently live and outside of New York City in Sleepy Hollow. It was a place where a lot of my friends would go camping. And so one of the things that happened to me was that my friends would go camping all the time, but they would never invite me. And one time I got invited. And when I got invited to go with them, I wanted to impress them. And what happened while a bunch of 14-year-old kids were having fun around a campfire was that one of them pulled out a can of gasoline and started to really push the limits. And when the limits were pushed and the gas was thrown on the fire a few times, I started to grow nervous. And as we were sitting there, one of the other kids came by with a cup and splashed it on the fire. And all of a sudden, the entire place was exploding high and everybody was having so much fun and was so excited, except for me. And one of the kids noticed a look on my face. And when they noticed that look on my face, they looked at me and they said, Beck, what are you, scared? And without even thinking, I got up, grabbed that cup, filled it to the top of the brim with gasoline, and threw it onto the fire right after looking him in the face and saying, I'm going to show you how scared I am. And when I did that, the fire came back on me and I was on fire. And I didn't know what to do. So I did what you're always told to do, and I stopped, dropped, and rolled. But it didn't really work because I was covered in gasoline. My friend tore off his shirt. He's trying to put me out. It's a crazy moment. It's all going down. I don't know what's going to happen. And I remember that the place where we were camping, it was near a stream. And like the word stream shot through my body, like as I was rolling around in those 45 seconds. And I jumped up and ran into the darkness and landed in that stream. And my life was saved, but I learned a really important lesson that day, especially that I had third degree burns. I had to go home. Everybody had to get in trouble because of me. I had to be the person who took a lot of the blame. I had to have a visiting nurse come to my house every day and change the bandages. I have scars to this day, but luckily I'm alive. And luckily I have scars that I can cover up with pants and socks. However, I learned something really important about that. And I learned something really important about leadership because I was trying to lead myself by comparing myself to others, by comparing myself to what others valued me as. And I learned it was really important to not focus just on the fires that were happening around me. It was more important to focus on the fire and the flame that was inside of me. And so when I talk about stepping into the fire, I talk about stepping into the leadership fire. After that time in my life, I really changed. I changed friends. I changed trajectory. I fell in love with coaching at a really young age. I landed in an outdoor education platform at the age of 15, and I was mentored by the a football coach from the Villanova University, a guy by the name of Craig Johnson, who taught me so much about work that made me passionate to go into the classroom. And the only direction I knew I was going was teaching and coaching. I am a teacher. I'm a fifth grade middle school teacher in a dual language classroom. I'm monolingual. I don't speak Spanish. However, I happen to be the person who jumped into that fire on that day when they were looking for someone to do it. And I haven't stopped doing that for 19 years. And I fell in love with it. And the day that I was standing in my graduation attire, I got a phone call to coach in the place in New York where I was moving to in Westchester County. And I still coach there today. I'm in my 20th season, and we have won a lot of titles and we've done a lot of amazing things. But most importantly, what we've done is we've created good young men that have strong character and a value-based program that has a tremendous culture. And, those things all led me to writing. Those things all led me to continuing this work. And while I was coaching in that journey, I started to coach outside of high school and coach more and look for more opportunities to grow my players and get my players elsewhere. And I continued coaching. I'm an instructor for the United States Soccer Federation. I give licenses. I also run a soccer club that manages over 2,500 families. And in those 2,500 families, we do everything from trips to Europe to programs for 4-year-old kids. We have 25 teams. We're a full service soccer organization that's been around for 48 years. And I've been along for the ride for 20 of them. And it's been something that's really amazing and great to be able to complement the teaching and the coaching side. However, when the pandemic hit, there were no fields to coach on. And that's when I started writing. And I wrote my first book, Unlocking Unlimited Potential. Started speaking to teachers and students, and quickly got the opportunity to start speaking with college sports teams, high school sports teams, because they started to reach out during this mental health crisis and they started to say, "Hey, do you do this with athletes?" And I turned to them and said, "Absolutely, I do this with athletes because what I do is I speak about the influences of self-confidence and how the influences of self-confidence make you the leader who you really are. And the influences of self-confidence can either make or break you as a leader. And we want to make you a better leader. And in order for you to do that, you need to be prepared for the mental battle that it's going to take. And I think what's most important and most incredibly interesting in this journey and working with all these leaders across athletics, across schools, both at the student level and at the teacher level and the educator and school leader level, is everybody gets tapped to be a leader by someone else. You're given the opportunity. Someone says, "You're in, it's your turn." And especially at a young age, what I'm finding at the high school level, even at the middle school level, is that a lot of times it's hard for the coach to be able to manage all of that leadership side because they're handling the tactical demands, the technical demands, communicating with families, scheduling, all those other pieces. So what I found in the journey in speaking to athletes is that they are often feeling like they are alone and that they have to do it alone and they have to figure it out. And I know in my journey as a leader, being a captain, that I had to figure it out. And what's been really cool is being able to show up to these organizations, to these schools as a speaker, as a leadership coach, and be able to show them that you're not alone and facilitate some interesting and sometimes awkward conversations, but allow people to see that the baseball team, the football team, the lacrosse team, the field hockey team, the cross country team, they all have very similar issues that they're dealing with. And being able to bring them together and give them that opportunity of coaching has just been something that has really grown into what I do today and what I continue to do with my work as a teacher and as a speaker.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing, that history and kind of that origin story of what you're doing now. I want to go all the way back, even maybe before, the fire. And again, that's the name of Dr. Brandon Beck's book, Into the Fire. We're going to talk about that more. Um, what was that like, growing up? Was there, a basketball hoop in your driveway? Were there backyard football games? What was kind of your memories of sports experience back then?
Oh, I was a very serious athlete. Both my parents were teachers, and my father was started the soccer program at the high school that I went to as a kid. And so my background in school was the school was sometimes even more of a challenging place for me because my parents were teachers in it. And so I had my mother who was a middle school teacher, my father who was a high school teacher, and that was sometimes challenging as a kid because there was a certain expectation like, hey, there's the teacher's kid. He's supposed to act this way. And I didn't act that way. And I had always found my solitude, my peace, my joy, my love for the game, for life was in sports. And that was always my outlet. And for me, where I lived in upstate New York, I had to, this doesn't say a lot maybe from Florida, but in New York, this is a lot. I had to drive 45 minutes, 3 times a week to go to practice. And whereas here, where I'm running a organization and people are complaining sometimes about driving 6 miles, and it's just the point is that I always had the commitment and I always had that drive to continue the sport, to continue to train. And my parents worked incredibly hard to, help me, to support me, to make it so that I could, have training. My position was a goalkeeper. So you need a different kind of training experience for a goalkeeper than you do for a field player in soccer, similar to a quarterback in football. So they were able to get that provided. I was able to be recruited. I was able to play college soccer. I played for one of the most winningest coaches in NCAA Division III history, which was an amazing program. I've since had the opportunity to go back and keynote and even be a leadership coach and work with that team for the last 4 years and work with their captains because that's what's really amazing about this journey is I love teaching and I love working with my team and coaching, but there's just something that's even more special about organizations that are starting to do more of these like captain councils where they're putting together the captain groups. I work with a lot of SAC groups in the NCAA. I work with a lot of captains councils and I'll work with a lot of universities where I will get all the captains in the room from all the sports. And to me, that's just such a powerful environment. And it's highly likely that those individuals are going to go on and even be successful leaders in their career. So to be able to really impact them in that moment is critical, and I really feel like that just comes from my parents being amazing teachers. My parents were phenomenal teachers, highly committed individuals, but just my particular experience going through the academic part of it was challenging because I had an IEP. I had instructional goals. I had to leave the classroom and go get extra reading support at a young age. And so those kinds of things really like tore on my confidence a little bit. And so I think that's why I'm really lucky that I survived, obviously, that fire at the age of 14. And it's really taken me about 3 decades to really process what it really meant. And it's funny because I didn't include this particular story in my first book. And it wasn't discovered until I started doing the work that I was doing with other people in my workshops and in my programs. And as I started to dig in and like create samples and pull from the different cornerstones, I mean, my work builds on the work of others. All of our work does. You know, I build my work on the Bob Proctors, Jack Canfields, Tony Robbins. I believe in leadership coaching. I have a leadership coach, and I work with a lot of others as a leadership coach, both at the leadership level, as a district level, and also as a leadership level at the coach level. And what I'm continuing to find is I'm continuing to find that when they're given the opportunity to share and to give insight and to ask questions and to hear others, that it's been really great to see the impact that that has on making them better at their job and just more happy at the opportunity.
Yeah, let's go and talk about the book. You and I were talking before we started recording, and you kind of shared the history of how it came about. And you've already shared. I mean, talk about not burying the lead. You you already talked about your experience, real experience with going into the fire. Um, how did the book all come about, and what are some I'll just be Captain Obvious, some leadership lessons that you think are most important that you can share in this small window here? And of course, how can our listeners get their own copy?
Absolutely. So, for me, what it was after I wrote my first book, Unlocking Unlimited Potential, as I was speaking, I was meeting and connecting a lot of leaders from across the country, a lot of people that are put into leadership positions as whether they're a teacher, whether they're a principal, whether they're a captain, whether they're a coach, so on and so forth. And this was part of my research, also connected to, I also have a podcast, the Unlocking Unlimited Potential Stories podcast, where I interview leaders who are leaders in all of these areas doing amazing things, some with big followings, massive followings, but some with no following at all, but they're just people doing amazing work. And I have had done 127 episodes, not even close to yours because you got a lot here, but my 127, and every one of those is a different leader. And being able to take my dissertation research, qualitative research brain and take that work from those podcasts and connect it to the work that I was doing and connecting and learning from all of these experiences, because I call myself you can call me a keynote speaker or I can call myself a leadership coach, but I think I say that because when I speak, it's very interactive. I'm connecting with the people, but I'm sharing opportunities to facilitate discussion. So I often hear and learn a lot from the people that I'm working with. So it came from all of that. It came from those 4 years of that work and traveling around and speaking here, there, and everywhere in all these different environments. And it also came from that podcast, from breaking down all of those episodes. Because as you know, as you're recording these podcasts and editing these podcasts, you're gaining professional insight and you're hearing things and learning things, and you're keeping your brain fresh. It's like it's a great wheel of constant thinking. And so that's where it all came from. And I had really learned that my audience was the leader inside of us, because I really truly believe there is a leader inside of us all. Some of us just don't have the confidence to be able to use it to our advantage in the way that we feel happiest. And so the book is Into the Fire, because you've learned about my leadership fire. And I think that we often have to jump into the fire in our leadership journey. And when we go into that, I like to say that there's 5 rules for igniting that leadership fire. And so the rules are you have to identify the fire within, turn your story into power, leaders create leaders, every teammate matters, and you belong as a leader. And those are the principles that are found within this journey. And it's filled with a lot of stories from a lot of these things that I've learned from these amazing people, but also stories of loss, stories of opportunities where we've been tapped on the shoulder to lead. And what I really love about it is that people walk away with it's a quick read. It's not a 400-page book, it's a 106-page book. And you can pick up each principle, each of those rules, and you can read through and put it down. And it's quick because in this day and age, well, we're all moving very fast. And I think as coaches, if there's one thing I know about coaches and athletic directors and educators, we never have enough time. So being able to provide a book that you can get in and get out of was also important to me writing this. So, you know, where you can get it, brandonbeckedu.com. You can also see the podcast there as well. I have a Something for You newsletter, and it is a newsletter that comes out on the 1st and 15th of every month for leaders who are looking to reflect, learn, and grow alongside of me. And it's full of free resources and helpful hints and helpful tips to make your leadership journey feel like you are not alone. And in addition to that, I have a podcast as well that comes out, and there's just tons of great ways to connect. I have a lot of opportunities that I'm going to be speaking in conferences in the next summer. I do a lot of speaking with the Athletic Directors Association, speaking in New York to all of the athletic directors. Just got back from Buffalo not too long ago, where I had the opportunity to speak to 200 leaders all in one space, all high school student leaders. That was awesome. And again, I what I think is most important, if there's anything I can kind of like give or give as insight and advice to people who are directors of athletic programs or coaches, what I really can give advice to is get the leaders together. Get the leaders together across sports, give them an opportunity, even if it's one time at the beginning of season and one time at the end of season. It's an opportunity for them to share what it is that they are seeing that is happening, and it will make them lead better in their other parts of life.
Oh, no, absolutely. Boy, I'm going to have to connect you with Jim Wright. He's the executive director for the New York Athletic Directors Association. We'll do that after this podcast.
Love that.
Um,
And I know Jim.
okay. I'm glad that you shared, how to get the book. And again, the website for listeners, it's brandonbeckedu.com, brandonbeckedu.com. All the resources are there, the social media links, how to order the book. Brandon, of course, we want them to go out and buy the book. But before we go, I'm putting you on the spot here. You mentioned the 5 tools, if you will. And the first one you said was, finding your fire. I think listeners and even myself, we can visualize, okay, we need to find, what we love, what's our why, which I really don't like that word. What's a couple of tips real quick
Oh,
for
so
finding your fire?
so profound. And I love that you say that about the why because it's overly used, right? You've heard it a million times. Everybody's saying, find your why, find your
Well,
why, find your why.
let me go and jump in real quick. This is why I don't like it. And again, yeah, you got to have a vision and what motivates you and all that stuff. But I hear so many people say, oh, what's your why? Oh, this is my why. Well, do you have a why? What's your why? And I'm more concerned with the what. Okay. What are you going to do with that? Okay. This is
Yes.
your why. Now go and do something with it. So,
Oh,
am
I
I on the
love
right
that.
track or am I all
You're
wet?
on the right, you're on the right track, 1,000%. And I think just to add to that piece a little bit more, you keep hearing why, because we all need to hear that, of course, because when you talk about the reason why you're upset or the reason you feel positive or the reason you feel negative, there's obviously a reason why that you feel that way about your certain position. And what I think is it's more how you navigate your why. So for me, I talk about the three influences of your self-confidence. The same way there's three elements of fire, heat, oxygen, and fuel, there's three elements to your self-confidence that influence it. Your story, your why, and your purpose. Now I know I said why, so I'm gonna save you on that one. So on the story, number one, the story when you think about the story that you tell yourself about who you are as an athlete. Let's just say it as an athlete right now. When you look in the mirror after a day of practice and you say, like, man, I was horrible today. I went 14 for 34 from inside inside range. I was all over the place. That's the reason why you're acting the way you are. That's the reason why you have become disconnected from the journey that started way back when dad was bringing you to practice and mom was driving all over and you guys were throwing bags in the car and leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning, but you lost sight of all of that. That's the reason why. So a lot of times it's just facilitating that conversation of why are you a leader? I have that in all my sessions right on the board. Boom. Why are you a leader? And the answers right there that come out already get the wheels turning because so many people, the answer's limited. So many people that I connect with, so many people that are scholarship athletes, the answer why is limited. Like, why are you leading? And to me, that's such a unique thing. So your story, your why, and your purpose. So as soon as you connect and realign your story, you start to get connected to the why because that's the heart and the passion inside your soul for that profession. And that allows you to design a clear plan of action. I even talk about in the book in a thing that I use with my clients that I coach with. It's called an Inspire Connect Launch Action Plan. And it's thinking about any goal that you have. What is it that inspires you about that goal? Why do you want it? Who are you going to be? What's going to happen if it doesn't get achieved? And being able to just answer those questions like that out loud immediately aligns you to why you're doing what you're doing. Because why can be a freaky and scary thing sometimes and very stereotypical, but why is really getting down to the real reason why we are all here. If you're a captain, if you're a leader of a team, the reason why you're there, I'll tell you why you're there. Because your goal, your job is to make sure that every person from the starting players, the best players, all the way down to the person at the end of the bench. If I walk in as a leadership coach and I talk to every one of them, what are they going to say? Is the person on the end of the bench going to say that, hey, I've never even spoken to the captain? He's never even known I've even existed. And if that's happening, then that's the reason why that you're not feeling successful as a leader. And so I think that's critical in the journey because again, the reason why we lead is to create other leaders. It's not to go around and taking all the credit, it's to create other leaders. And I think those two particular things are critical in understanding. And I think sometimes we look at leadership as such a big thing, and that helps align their confidence so they can be clear in their action and they can go and start to think about things that promote team culture, like how am I going to get that person on the end of the bench to feel like they're involved. And I've seen so many incredible strategies that these teams have come up with and that they use and that they enhance throughout the season that it's just been so wild to see how putting the people in the room and in the space together and having the opportunity and me doing it or someone else doing it who's not the coach or on the staff because we have a third point perspective. I don't really have any history. I walk in with a blank slate, and sometimes I meet with the captains before and I get their version, but it's an opportunity to kind of give that full cycle of feedback as well and meet with that coach after and they're surprised sometimes they're not, but it's just value added information.
Oh, wow. I love it. You probably saw me scribbling down notes. Um, One more time for our listeners, the website, brandonbeckedu.com. You can find out, all the resources, speaking engagements, working with your athletes, your team, your organization, having Brandon come in as a speaker. You can order the book. If they want to reach out directly to you, Brandon, and connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Info at brandonbeckedu.com. Info at brandonbeckedu.com. That's info short for information.
It's great. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on, sharing with our listeners. All the best with the book and all your other engagements. I am going to, reach out to Jim Wright for you, even though you know him. But all the best going forward.
Very much appreciated. And also, thank you for creating this space. It's so awesome to see that there is a space where like-minded individuals can continue to, raise the potential for athletes and raise the conversations.
Oh, you are very kind. I certainly enjoy what I do. I know you do as well. For our listeners, we enjoy that you tune in. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Tech Tuesday just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Wow, what a great story. Make sure you get a copy of Brandon's book, Into the Fire. And that's by Dr. Brandon Beck. Remember that website, brandonbeckedu.com. Before we go, we want to thank all of our great sponsors. You've heard me say it before, but every single one of these sponsors I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. Let's say thank you to Gipper, to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards, Home Campus, Vital Signs, Wall of Fame, Snap Raise, Huddle. I want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration, Athletic Surveys, and Hometown. Let's go and throw in K-12 Sports Tech as well. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.